Good morning.
Good morning.
You and I have talked about this before. Basically, for those listening who don't have House Bill 1414 in front of them, this is in regards to what I call the uncounted children. And this is a subject very close to my heart. The last time you and I sat in this committee, I believe when I asked you how many uncounted children we had, the ballpark was 7,000 to 8,000, roughly, if I remember correctly. So my question today would be, what is our ballpark? And what is our deadline? Because I come from a business world. And probably the number one frustrating thing to me with the red tape of government is that we don't get to have such black and white.
Right.
But this bill was passed with the objective of starting the process of counting the uncounted children. And no matter what party line you fall on today, I think we can all agree that that's a noble cause because those kids deserve to have a voice, and until they're counted, we can't make just decisions on behalf of their future here like we need to. You guys can't advocate for them within the department like you need to until we know the total. So I'm going to ask for the record when we plan on beginning the statutory guidelines that have been given and passed and signed by the governor. I don't want to meet here again and not know that they are not beginning to be counted. And if this process that we pass via statute doesn't work to successfully begin to get some kind of handle for real on these numbers, then I would love to have an offline conversation with you about what needs to be done. So I'd love to hear your take.
Sure. So to start out with, we are starting to count them. So, we talked last year, Representative, early in the year, about putting a systems process in place to be able to track diversions. That did happen in June. So now, do we have 7,000 or 8,000 in there? No, because I will be honest with you, it has been a struggle to get our teams out in the field to understand that this is part of the work that we do, right? Like, we know what we do with investigations, we know what we do with assessments. I'm not making excuses for that, but, I do know that we are starting to track them. We do have some teams that are doing, in certain parts of the state, that are doing better than others. And so part of this is, we may not have all the follow-up pieces in 1414, but we have started to track the divisions since June, or the diversions, I'm sorry, since June. Now it's a matter of making sure that every single team in the field is compliant with that. And like I said, I think that we probably have some best practices from certain teams. And I'm going to look to Joni, I'm going to look to Sarah to make sure I'm saying that right. Sarah Smith, she is over she's our deputy that is over, just to introduce her because she may want to pop up and say something in addition. She's over the CAN side. So anything before a child is taken into custody, whether that be prevention, CAN, that's Sarah's piece and how she supports Joni and the work that we do. So I'll start by saying we do have some numbers on that. Are they going to be near 7,000 or 8,000? Absolutely not. We've got some areas that are doing better than others. So I'll start by that. As far as the time frame for full implementation of 1414, once we get the regulations through the approval process, we can begin that. But it will be a little bit, I don't know enough to know if there's anyone, any stakeholder group that's going to have concerns about us filing that regulation and moving forward with some of the practice prior to the regulation being kind of final and promulgated, right? Because that can take, 6 months to do. So I think our commitment is that we can go back and my guess is our attorneys have probably said you really don't want to start doing this until you have a final rule that's promulgated. But my promise to you is we'll go back. If we can get that rule promulgated or at least filed this month or the following month, then what do we think that we can do from a legal perspective in the interim while we're waiting for that rule to be finalized? Like I don't want to use COVID as a scapegoat. I don't. But the reality is that it has impacted what we've been able to do. But moving forward, my charge to the team has been, I also don't want to look back on this year and say the only thing that we got accomplished was managing COVID. So that's my commitment to you is, within a week before Christmas, we'll get something to you, to the committee, that lays out a deadline. We'll share with you the diversion information we have in the system. We can even share with you where that is. And we have some trends around the number of kids from those diversions that are being taken into custody, those that are being, that maybe we have a guardianship, so some kind of permanency where we don't end up asking the court to, or the court doesn't make a decision to remove the child. And then we have some, quite honestly, that are taken into custody. So we can share with you trends. We're tracking all that. The data is only as good as our team members who will put that in the system. And I can appreciate the fact that we hire people to work with families and with children, but the data is important because we can't manage without the data.
Thank you, Director. I appreciate your transparency. And Representative Kelly, it looks like you'd like to inquire.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Proceed.
Chairwoman.